And we also have a debate on the motion of adjournment. This one will be moved by Lunte Member of Parliament, Mr. Mutotwe Kafwaya. This is to take practical measures to reduce the cost of living.
And so we sure hope that you're going to stay with us until adjournment. My colleague and I will be back at adjournment time just to have a recap of what will have been considered on the floor rehearsed. Just now, we leave you with live pictures from the chamber. Members of Parliament are actually getting ready for today's parliamentary debates that will take the air at 14:30 hours. Do stay with us right here as we continue to bring Parliament closer to you. Good afternoon.
Honorable members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
And the King of Zambia, proud and free, land of faith and glory, unity, victors in the struggle for our rights, we want. with Zambia, 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 remain with stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, pledge to thee, O one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Order. Honorable members, I have 3 announcements to make. The first one is that, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Rodspark School in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seats. Honorable members, the second announcement, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of visitors from Luansha Parliamentary Constituency in Luansha District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seats. The last announcement to recognize the presence in the public gallery of another group of pupils and teachers from Sunshine Academy in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seats. The next item, urgent matters without notice. There is one indication. The Honorable Member from Pika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, yesterday the government announced the removal of 15% tax on exports of precious stones and minerals. Madam Speaker, the mining sector in the precious stones business is largely dominated by foreigners.
Yeah.
Any removal of taxes does not benefit the Zambian people.
Not at all.
It benefits foreigners and a few Zambians. Madam Speaker, this has been done at a time when the Zambian people are being heavily taxed to finance the 80% national budget that is supposed to be financed by domestically mobilize the resources, including on mobile money transactions. And Madam Speaker, also this is happening at a time when mining companies are enjoying tax concessions. Madam Speaker, this does not benefit the country. This is not in the best interest of the country. Therefore, I direct this matter urgent matter without notice at the Minister of Finance, in absence at the Leader of Government's business in the House, to provide the nation with necessary reasons what motivated the removal of such tax at our country struggling to put up infrastructure because of lack of money. Madam Speaker, I seek your indulgence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member from Pika. I know this item is making headlines. A lot of comments are being made by members of the public. But I will suggest that the Honorable Member instead puts in an urgent question, which the Honorable Minister can come and tackle. Of course, the nation wants to know the justification why that decision was taken. So please put in an urgent question, Honorable Member. So let's make progress. Questions for oral answer understanding order 80. The Honorable Member for Masaiti. The Honorable Member for Masaiti, going once. It appears the Honorable Member for Masaiti is not in the House, so the question lapses. No, Honorable Members. Honorable Members, let's not try to mislead ourselves. Your job is to follow proceedings, not to give guidance. So I don't know under what standing order you'll be calling on the Leader of Opposition to ask the question. So let's make progress. The Honorable Minister, oh sorry. Next question, the Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 208. 208. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister for Education.
Madam Speaker, Mr. Miyutu of Kalabo Central asks the Minister of Education, A, what the rationale for the introduction of the free education policy from early childhood education to grade 12 was, and B, what the benefits of the policy are, and C, what measures are being taken to ensure that all children of school-going age benefit from the policy. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that A, the rationale for the introduction from early childhood education to grade 12 was to address critical socio-economic and educational challenges while aligning Zambia's national development goals, including Vision 2030, Sustainable Development Goal number 4, and the 8th National Development Plan. Key objectives of the policy include enhancing access to education, reducing socio-economic barriers, curbing child labor and early marriages, addressing high dropout rates, and fulfilling international commitments. Additionally, the policy aims to build human capital essential for economic growth and national development. By ensuring universal access to education, it seeks to equip young Zambians with the necessary skills to thrive in a competitive workplace. And B, the implementation of the free education policy has delivered significant social and economic benefits. Notably, it has led to a surge in school enrollment, with over 2 million learners returning to school. Additionally, the policy has contributed to a reduction in dropout rates, improved literacy and educational outcomes, and eased financial burdens to families, on families, Beyond education, the policy is driving broader societal benefits, including fostering economic growth, creating employment opportunities, promoting social stability and equality, and reducing child marriages and child labor. And C, the measures being implemented by government to ensure that all school-going children benefit from the policy include, but are not limited to, the following: increased budgetary allocation to education, recruitment of additional teachers, provision of learning materials and infrastructure development, expansion of school infrastructure, support for the community schools, bursaries and scholarships for vulnerable children, strengthening school feeding programs, addressing gender disparities, monitoring and evaluation, collaboration with development partners, engagement with traditional and community leaders, and also addressing special needs education. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the substantive responses you have given. However, Honorable Minister, the current educational reforms, the changes which are being undertaken by the Ministry of Education, is it not that there is some conflict in that whilst free education enables the vulnerable and every school-going child to access education, there is this scenario which has been created where schools where there were grade 8s are no longer offering grade 8 education. They have been referred to schools where they are from 1 to Form 4. And those children now, they have to walk very long distances. Is this not a conflict, Honorable Minister? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, with your indulgence, I think this was not part of the question. But if you recall, I had to postpone giving a ministerial statement because that subject will be covered tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Members. Since there is a ministerial statement tomorrow on the curriculum, I think we don't touch the aspects of the new curriculum. We wait until tomorrow. The Honorable Member for Kamfisa.
I thank you once again, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to ask the Minister of Education a follow-up question. I know you've guided on the issue of the curriculum. Madam Speaker, one of the questions that the Honorable Member for Kalabo is asking is obviously on the benefits of this policy. Now, Madam Speaker, we can only get benefits from the policy if children are able to access educational facilities. My follow-up question to the Minister: I know that each constituency is spending money through the Constituency Development Fund to make available classroom space. Is the policy of government to also provide extra funding outside the Constituency Development Fund to make classroom space available? Because that is the only way, Madam Speaker, will quickly bridge the gap of inadequate space. That is my follow-up question, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Education.
Again, Madam Speaker, with your indulgence, I'll be giving a detailed answer tomorrow in my ministerial statement.
Looks tomorrow is just a day away. Maybe we give the minister some benefit of the ministerial statement. The Honorable Member for Lukasha.
I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity also to ask a question to the Minister. Honorable Minister, one of the challenges that we are facing in the constituencies is the deficiency of early childhood infrastructure for the small children who are going to school. I want to find out what immediate measures government has to ensure that we plug this deficit of infrastructure for early childhood classrooms. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Again, Madam Speaker, with your indulgence, let me come and give you exactly what we are doing as a country.
The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The idea behind free education is to enable every age through communities. You will still find are not going to school. Police. The interest of going to school. Honorable and to make to allow the children just but to go to school. Can't there be such a regulation or a law, Madam Speaker?
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. About a free education. And we still think their own children. They don't want whatsoever for parents not to take their children to school. A long time ago, they used to hide behind money to pay. But government for them. If you want the law in order to be arresting parents and children who are refusing to go to school,
very much. The Honorable Member for Mitete.
Speaker, kama motivation that to up on. Is it that the introduction, the scaling up, school feeding program, if well harnessed, pupils are now able to have something to bite at school, will that be a motivation? In Kalabo, Madam Speaker, Mitete, inclusive, Washish in particular, Minister. that motivation, Madam Speaker.
Speaker, partly yes, because we had 70 districts doing school. Children started going to school. But with free education, it surged in so many districts without actually feeding, meaning that the component of feeding, yes, was attracting the children with free education. Scaling is partly part of the motivation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we move to the next question, there is an indication that the Honorable Member for Petauke Central is ready to deliver his maiden speech. The Honorable Member for Petauke Central.
Thanks so much, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the wonderful people of Petauke Central Constituency, giving me this opportunity to deliver my maiden speech to this esteemed and respected House of the People. Before I proceed, let me pay tribute to a number of God Almighty who saw it fit for me to become Parliament for Petauke. As a Christian named Joseph, I am faithful with God. And Edgar Chagwalungu, and he was also a chairperson of Tonse Alliance for his political endorsement, legendary leadership, and candidature. In the same vein, chair of the National Congress.
Honorable members, let's allow the Honorable maiden speech. I know you can urge him on, but please don't confuse him in the process. We want to listen to each and every word we're going to render.
Sixth President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu, district, and who is also of the top support for my candidature. Let me appreciate all the leaders of the Tonse Alliance you, J Banda and projects not recognized, and Mr. Joseph Changa. Headmen, marketeers, cyclists. who worked very hard in campaigns to ensure that we carried the day. And not the rest. And sincere thanks to the Speaker. Note that our campaign was not easy as we were competitive. High-profile endorsement for the ruling party candidate. Yeah. Spirited and genius our team and NCP enables us to carry. Let me recognize the importance of society and the of the people. Madam Speaker, I received NCP and the Tons Alliance. My loyalty. Most importantly, I'll be who have sent me House. I am inviting all stakeholders to hold with me. Madam Speaker, in addition to the people and health facilities recreation system. To address to the government to ensure that being shared.
Shouting with that loud voice, I have no option but to send you out. Please, let's allow the honorable member to debate. Honorable member for Nkana, honorable member from Pika, and honorable member for Kalulush. Please restrain yourselves. I'm the one who is watching here. Don't patronize me, honorable member for Kalulush. Do not patronize me. When I give guidance, you are not supposed to respond from there. Let's allow the honorable member to deliver his maiden speech. He's not supposed to be interrupted. May the honorable member continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. While I acknowledge that the Constituency Development Fund could be used to address some of these challenges, I am of the view that CDF alone cannot satisfy the huge needs of a vast and highly populated constituents like ours. Therefore, the people of Petauke are appealing to the government to ensure that the next Petauke should also get its equal share because we live under the motto of One Zambia, One Nation. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I would like to take this opportunity to urge stakeholders in the election process, particularly the Electoral Commission of Zambia, to ensure that they manage elections in a fair manner to gain confidence from the Zambian people. Similarly, the Zambia Police Service should perform their duties in a professional and impartial manner in order to ensure that peace prevails before, during and after elections. This will go a long way in maintaining peace and reducing political tension that is experienced, especially during elections. With that said, let me thank you, Madam Speaker, again for giving me this opportunity. May God bless the people of Petauke and Zambia at large. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we make progress? Next question, the Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and congratulations once again to the Tonse Alliance Member of Parliament, Honorable Banda Simon. Question number 209 from the wonderful people of Lundas.
Thank you, the Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance. Ms. Nyerere, Lundazi, Member of Parliament, would like to find in A when the following health posts in Lundazi Parliamentary constituency will be operationalized. That is Matembe Health Post, Chanyon Health Post, Chadiza Health Post, and maternity wing at Nkoma. In B, what the cause of the delay in operationalizing the facility is, and in C, when the government will procure equipment for the above health posts. Madam Speaker, in A, to the House that for a health facility or maternity annex to be operationalized, it must satisfy at least the following criteria. A, running water and flushable toilets. B, energy source E, human resource for health, and incinerator for medical waste management, that's brick or electric. Madam Speaker, Matamba, Chanyondo, Chadiza Health Posts, and the maternity annex at Nkomba are at different levels of completion, utilizing the Constituency Development Fund, CDF. Therefore, each unity will be operationalized once it satisfies the above minimum outlined criteria. The requirements have been shared with CDF committees through the Office of the Town Clerk. Madam Speaker, B, Matemba, Chanyondo, Chadiza Health Posts are still under construction, between 90% to 95% completion. Madam Speaker, allow me to encourage members of Parliament who are undertaking CDF projects related to health to engage our offices early enough to help us plan for medical equipment and human resources in good time to avoid delays in operationalization. In C, Madam Speaker, as I already alluded to, the 3 health posts are at 90% 90% to 95% completion. The maternity annex, on the other hand, is awaiting medical equipment and placement of human resource. The Provincial Health Office in Eastern Province and the Lundazi District Health Office in constant communication with the Lundazi Local Authority over the equipment needs of the health post and maternity. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To inform you that this particular health posts and the maternity wing, they are 100% complete. They have become a cost now higher local security in those areas. Matembe, Chideza, and Chanyondo are complaining because they have to pay the security themselves because you have not taken over those facilities. Minister, water and flushable toilets, I want to give you information that all those things are already available at Chanyondo. I was hoping that in your ministerial statement, you would now the question which I have for you is, when are you allocating nurses to those your information and the information which I have on the ground? They are two different informations. Honorable Minister, I seek your indulgence.
Thank you. I just want clarification. Did the Honorable Minister deliver a ministerial statement on this matter? You referred to a ministerial statement.
It's answering the question. I'm sure he was coming in as a minister. So what he says is policy direction. I submit.
So in simple terms, the Honorable Minister was answering the question but not delivering a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Madam Yerinda. Madam Speaker, the area member of Parliament, she's been in constant touch with the Provincial Health Medical Director, and as of yesterday, over these facilities. If she's saying they're 100%, according to her, not according to the. If that's the case, we have no problem. We shall send the people there to verify, and if they are ready, we shall be there. For nurses, we have just finished recruiting, are still reporting. They have with February. I'm sure all these facilities on the administration considered, if any have been allocated to these places. I think, Madam.
Thank you. I see a lot of interest. This is a constituency-based question, so I will not be able to call upon all the honorable members that have indicated. Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, once again, the privilege is mine to ask the Minister of Health a follow-up question. Minister, this is what I may describe as a low-hanging fruit. The health facility has been done. You are saying it's 95%, which is almost done. The Honorable Member of Parliament says it's as good as done. It's a matter now of making it available to our people. Are you able to indicate from your assessment when we are going to have health personnel in the facility and when equipment will be provided? I'm asking this, Speaker, because becoming a part of it, Kamfinsa, Lubansenshi, literally every constituency has got health facilities which are not functional, Madam Speaker. And I think that central government needs to help us to make sure that these facilities are available to our people. When do we get those health facilities available to our people, Madam Speaker? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister for Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa. I think in my answer or response, I put it very clearly that all those of us, left and right, who are constructing clinics or health centers using CDF should notify us well in advance so that we take into the requirements such as equipment, facility, equipment readily available. We need to budget for them. If all the equipment is available, we could be supplied to these facilities, but not when we just finish and then we expect us to come in. We expect inspection to be done, to be conducted. For your own information, I've been liaising with her of what happened in Rundas there. I had to send a permanent secretary there. This issue of these health facilities did not come in. What I'm saying, if at all today the funds are available, we are intending to equip every health post, but we have got limited resource. But coming one by one, case by case, like she's saying, we shall look at exactly what is there and what can be provided for the hospital or the health center to be operationalized. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Liaising with the Minister of Health because the previous Minister of Health had made commitments that she would deliver the equipment within the last quarter before she was dismissed into another ministry. Honorable Minister, the question which I have for you. No, but she was removed from that ministry into the other one. The question which I have for you now is, from where we had ended, have you been able to acquire the equipment now? So I can even carry it myself, taking it to London. Have you acquired any equipment for any of these health posts? And Chanyondo was a gift from the church. They built for us. They have given you as the ministry so that you can be able to offer the facility. Are you in a position to confirm to the people of Lundas whether the equipment is available and the workers are ready to go and start working? I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and to thank you, Member of Parliament for Lundazi. Whether a person retires, dismissed, resigns, the process, the office. But we are saying, you are just coming today on the floor of the House to indicate that you are at 100%, not as far as we are concerned ourselves. We need to reconcile your position with our position. I'm saying after this today, I'll give instructions to the Provincial Health Director to go and inspect. And if truly they are ready with the equipment, furniture and other things, we shall look into what is available in order for us to operationalize these health posts. It's our desire to take this health care to our people smile. But today, we cannot reconcile because you're talking from here. I've got a report from there, which is at different level. So wait until we reconcile that position. Then we shall know the way forward. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Chitambo.
Madam Speaker, I appreciate the time you've given me to ask. Honorable Minister, you outlined what is required for a health post to be made operational. And one of the things that you mentioned was a house for officers or workers. I just wanted to mention of Lundas. If everything is done and there's no house, are you able to others who go to rural places are given housing allowance and rural hardship allowance. So are you able to commission a if housing unit? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The quick answer is yes. The answer here I said, with provision of a staff house, a provision. If there is no staff house, the facility can still be, through you, can still be operationalized. Those who are not housed by the government, they are given 20% of their gross salary. So there is no issue there. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kasenengo.
Thank you very much for the opportunity given to the people of Kasenengo to ask a follow-up question. Through you, Madam Speaker, the movement for, as he did mention to the Honorable Minister, that those by video do not have money to pay them or to keep paying them. I thought that would worry you, Honorable Minister, that a government institution is being manned by a person whose papers are a community. What is the position? Who is supposed to provide?
The Honorable
If you have constructed to you is that 90% to 95%. They haven't been to the government be taken over by the government. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chembe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, to give the people of Chembe to ask a question to the Honorable Minister of Health. Honorable Minister, all members of Parliament here, definitely we have done this health facility. Now, as a ministry, have you tried to have that keen interest to do a feasibility study in all constituencies as you plan for the procurement of this specialized equipment? You have got the entire country, so that it is not done in piecemeal. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Chembe. Every corner of Zambia, and first and foremost, let me appreciate this government of President Hakainde Hichilema, who has increased the CDF. And this means that there is construction in every corner of Zambia, particularly the clinics or health facilities. Just as you have put the CDF, you are not restricted. You can have a portion of that money, which has gone to 36 million, spare about 2 million, counter to whatever we can do. Go ahead of us, because for us to budget for the whole entire country at one time, it's not possible. It will be done case on case basis. If we buy, we shall distribute them accordingly without any discrimination. The total bill is quite huge. And when you look at your government today, it has a lot of responsibility, and it's only one envelope that needs everything to be addressed. So for that, let's work together, and if there's equipment, it's meant for our people, it will be given accordingly. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member from Mukushi South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, now that you are aware that this health institution is 100% done, what time frame are you going to give yourself to ensure that you operationalize this health institution? Because you are remaining with very few months before you are kicked out by the Zambian people. I submit.
That's the problem of honorable members. This is a straightforward question. You want to put politics in it?
Point of order.
There is an indication for a point of order from the Honorable Minister of Agriculture. What's the point of order, Honorable Minister?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order on the member who just spoke. And this is pursuant to item 73 in our standing orders. Madam Speaker, we are well guided by the standing orders that repetitive issues become irrelevant. In this case, Madam Speaker, the Honorable Minister has made it very clear that if you build a hospital building, it does not mean that it will become operational, because he needs staff, he needs equipment, he needs furniture. Madam Speaker, is it in order to be raising the same question which others have raised and the Minister has ably answered? Is the Honourable Member who now brings in politics, unnecessary politics in the question, in order to raise such an irrelevant, repetitive question?
Oh, the honorable members, actually I was going to say that that question was asked and it was ably answered by the honorable minister. So the honorable member from Kush South is out of order. The honorable member for Milazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, you have indicated that the ministry will conduct a physical check to determine the status of the health facility in Lundazi. We would like to know when Eastern Province, Milanzi constituency, when are you visiting?
The honorable member for Milanzi, just address the chair. Don't worry about reacting to people who are making comments. Just ask your question.
Honorable Minister, when are you visiting Milanzi constituency? Because the happenings in Lundazi constituency to what is happening in Milanzi constituency. Just when are you visiting us so that you appreciate the facilities that are non-operational? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It doesn't mean it has to be physically myself, my district health director, provincial health director, or permanent secretary or DC can be there. But of course, you have been hearing on this side, the other side. When I come to Eastern Province on the tour, I'll make it a point that I visit the health facilities. I'll be there, chance allowing. But as we are now here, I can only ask colleagues who are closer, including the permanent secretary or the provincial health director, to visit the institution so that we make a decision and proceed. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. What I observed is we lack consultation and communication between the honorable members and the members. Because if the minister needs to be notified, the person who can notify is the honorable member. So please, let's communicate. Let's communicate. We are doing this for the people. So if you want to be confrontational, report you are encouraged, let's communicate, advise the honorable minister the projects are ready so that they can be inspected. I think that is my observation from where I'm sitting. The honorable member for
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity to raise on a point of order. Pursuant to Standing Orders 71. Madam Speaker, I am disappointed that the Honorable Minister has failed to address my question. He answered, but he left out a part. He said, has that project been handed over yet so that the government takes over? Now, who takes over of that facility in the interim period? When the contractor finishes his project, he leaves the site. Then that site has got to be guarded. Someone is going to provide the security, and the member of parliament for Lundazi was saying, and that is the case of Kasenengwa. In her case, she's saying village headmen are selling goats to pay the security guards. In Kasenengwa, that the back is on me as a member of parliament to start paying those people the health facilities. Who takes care of the health facilities in the interim before government takes over when they employ and after leave takes care of Minister? Madam Speaker, is it in order? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Yeah. Not even the point of order. When a project is being, from what the little that I know about projects, when you are building a school, when you are doing a project, you it is completed. And then after the project is completed, you hand over. Between the time that you are constructing and the handing over, the person who was constructing is the one who is in charge. That goes without saying. So if the projects have not been handed to the honorable minister or the government come in, because whatever budget has to be supported. So that is simple. I'm sure, honorable member for Kasanengwa, you have projects in your constituency. Please. Let's listen. When the honorable minister is answering, let's listen so that we get the answers properly and we put them in context. Let's not say, oh no, he ignored the question. I think that is not fair. We make progress. The next question, honorable member from Pika.
I'm grateful, Madam Speaker. Question number 210.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and the Honorable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For me to ask the Minister of Urban Development, question A. When the construction is 2 complete, what the cause of the delay in completing the project is. C, what the cost of the project is. In question posed Parliament from Pika, we wish to respond as follows. A, the construction of phase 2 of the Michael Chulufasata Hospital in Impika district will be completed. The contractor for the work has been provided. B, the main cause of the delay to complete the project was financial constraints faced by the government and expiry of the contract due to lapse in time. C, the contract sum for the project was Zambian Kwacha 19,702,502 Kwacha and 66 Ingwe. D, Madam Speaker, the time frame for the completion of the project is 6 months from the date of commencement of works. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member from Pika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity for me to ask the Honorable Acting Minister of Infrastructure a follow-up question. And I thank you for your statement. A similar question on the floor of the House was posed in 2023, October on the 18th. The Acting Minister of Infrastructure then, Honorable Haimbe, indicated on the floor of the House that the completion of Michael Chulufasata Hospital, phase 2, would be done in the last quarter, commencement would be in the last quarter of 2023 and completion would be in the first quarter of 2024. In his answer, the acting ministers just indicated that it will be procured. The people of Mpika would want to know when that would be. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you to the Honourable Member for the follow-up question.
At least they are now going to consult each other. Yes.
Speaker, to say, Madam Speaker, that obviously there must have been, various factors leading to the delay in completion of this particular project. One of which now expiration, and that going by that expiration, bills of be established before government could actually be concluded. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kamfinso.
Thank you very much once again, Madam Speaker. His response talked about procurement and Minister. The phase 2 of the project, which already has designs, and I sponsor the estimate we need. Financial year are we looking at for the this project? Mpika and the people of the province will be able to know that 2025 is not possible, but the project will be done in 2026 or 2027. Can you assure the people of Mpika which financial year we are looking at in terms of executing these works? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, the Acting Minister, the Honourable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the Honourable Member for Kamfinsa for that follow-up question. I think going by the answer that was given earlier, that once, the project commences, we only require 6 months to do that. It appears year, where that we had suffered quite a number of setbacks in the last financial year, which led to realignment of budgets. But I think that, we thank God for, obviously blessing us with the rains. We should have a fairly stable financial, position to be able to conclude on this particular project. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member from Pika.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would have loved to hear, categorically so, that funds have been secured. Since in his answer, the Minister indicated that the government had faced financial constraints. Madam Speaker, this is a very important hospital in Mpika. Very important, Madam Speaker. It is the hospital which is supposed to act as a referral hospital. We do not have any kind of a big hospital such as Michael Chirufyasata, the way it is supposed to designed to be done. So we expect that when government is responding, we get facts so that we go and communicate to our people. Our people are very eager to hear what the status of Michael Chirufyasata Hospital. Would the Minister, just for one moment, has secured funds for the completion of Michael Chirufyasata Hospital in 2020? Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the Honourable Member for realizing the importance of this particular hospital, Michael Chirufyasata Hospital. This project, Madam Speaker, was contracted way back in 2015. Had the previous administration realized the importance of this hospital, they would have concluded this particular project. But for the realization of the importance of such infrastructure, this new Dawn administration is going back even to projects that were not concluded to ensure that we do bring services closer to our people. The Honourable Member will do well to appreciate this administration, that we are taking this responsibility as a going concern of government to ensure that that which was not concluded by an administration that obviously did not realize the importance of such projects, that this will be done under our watch. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Order, honorable members. Let's make progress. Honorable member for Lunte, please, you may take your seat. Let's make progress. The honorable member for Chiruvi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The hospital in question, Madam Speaker, we are talking about phase 2. The design of those hospitals were supposed to go up to phase 3. And all of them were supposed to have an average of 13 departments. Madam Speaker, that hospital, not to overemphasize the importance, it caters not only for Mpika constituents, it caters also for Kanchibia constituents, as well as Infue constituents, and it's on the Kasama Mpika Road, which is also prone to accidents. Madam Speaker, phase 2 and phase 3 includes departments like the wards. It also includes departments like the mortuary. It includes the departments like theatre. And Madam Speaker, the Minister did indicate that the project was worth 19 million plus. What the people of Chiruvi are interested in is the projected amount due to variation. The projected amount that is remaining is not only going up to phase 2, the design also goes up to phase 3, which would give us an average of 13 departments. What is the projected amount that is remaining to complete the hospital? And possibly, what has been already been done as part of performance of that particular contract? I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to the Honourable Member for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, to that question, may I respond by saying that, first of all, yes, the contract sum was 19,702,502 ingwe, and that only 7 million has been paid towards the project. This, Madam Speaker, will reveal that only 50% of works had actually been done towards this particular project. Had the previous administration, earlier stated, paid particular attention to structure, this should have been concluded way before 2021. It is therefore logical to conclude that this project may have been procured in the absence of matching resources. Now, His Excellency the President has stated that every health facility must have all the other attendant phases, phases such as the wing, a mortuary, proper. Like I stated to the other colleague, I think that our colleagues on your left, Madam Speaker, will do well to simply appreciate the methodical approach that this administration is taking back and do work which is done, but they neglected to do so. Madam Speaker, thank you.
The Honourable Member South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, we have been informed that the Honourable Member from Pika was assured that the second phase of Michael Chilufya-Sata Hospital will be constructed from 2023, and it was supposed to have completed in 2024, phase 2. And knowing how methodical the new dawn is, can you tell us why you failed to apply your methodical way in ensuring that this hospital was not completed on phase 2 in 2024? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to the Honourable Member for that follow-up question. I'll advise the Honourable Member, Madam Speaker, to pay particular attention to the position that the Executive is giving to these very important questions that you are posing. I think that it's one thing to make plans, and if the Honourable Member will acquaint himself, I think, to events that have been happening in this House, the Honourable Member will recall that we were faced with an unprecedented drought that caused a situation and realign the budget. I can actually say that there was our control that could have delayed the completion of this particular very, very important hospital. But like I've stated, we are good to go in this particular financial year, and the process is underway that our people can have access to a fully fledged hospital in Michael Chilufya-Sata Hospital, which will be concluded under this administration in this financial year. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kanchivia.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as we do and point fingers and do the counter accusations, some of us with our citizens and the people we represent, depending on this particular facility, can in fact see and remember some of people very dear to us who've lost lives because we couldn't get them in time to Michael Chilufya-Sata Hospital. And so I think as we do our politics, let's remember that there are human lives at stake. I'm comforted, Madam Speaker, that there's an assurance from the Minister that this hospital is going to be, phase 2 is going to be done in this financial year. And maybe just to get it crystal clear, and I speak for the people of Kanchibia who depend on this hospital, that by 2026, this phase 2 of the hospital will be done. Is that what the minister is telling the people of Kanchibia and the people of Mpika? Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Affirmative.
The Honorable Member for Chipili.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, Acting Minister, just wanted to find out the time frame of the procurement process so that they can, Honorable Member of Mpika can be making follow-ups if it's 1 month. Thank you.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and to the Honourable Member, thank you for that follow-up question. You realize that obviously the procurement process is something that is not handled by the Minister, and that this obviously is being handled by competent people that will realize the importance of concluding this particular process so that we can get back on course and finish the construction of this very, very important phase 2 of Michael Chilufya-Sata Hospital. I thank you.
Thank you. I was going to allow the Honorable Member for Petauke Central to ask, but he has withdrawn, so we make progress. Notes of motions. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the wonderful people of Kamfinsa constituency, who I am privileged at the moment to represent, have the great honor to present a motion, Madam Speaker, urging government to establish legal aid offices in all districts countrywide. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Chilubi. The question is that in order to enhance equitable access to legal representation, this House urges the government to establish legal aid offices in all districts countrywide. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Once again, Madam Speaker, I want to thank your office. Madam Speaker, the privilege that we have as members of Parliament is to identify challenges which our people are facing, and using this privileged position, Madam Speaker, we should take that responsibility to press upon government to implement certain programs that can benefit our people. The motion that I've brought today, Madam Speaker, is basically focusing on equitable access to justice. Now, why have I decided, Madam Speaker, to pick this particular topic today? You might be aware, Madam Speaker, that currently the challenges which people face economically are different. Others, Madam Speaker, are able to afford legal services. If a member of Parliament wants to pursue a matter before the courts of law, chances for the lawyer. People out there are not discussing a rural, discussing all the 160 districts in Zambia. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, not everyone can afford legal services. And because people can't afford legal services, Madam Speaker, in 1967, this Parliament enacted a law which is called the Legal Aid Act. Now, this Legal Aid Act, Madam Speaker, recognized in 1967 that there will be people that will need to be assisted with legal representation. 2021, fast forward, Madam Speaker, the law that I've referred to was amended. Why was the law amended? Was to ensure that legal aid is more responsive to the needs of our people, especially those that need legal representation. Where are we today, Madam Speaker? Out of 116 districts in Zambia, we have only 23 districts that have offices for the legal aid. Now, if you have 23 offices, Madam Speaker, out of 116, it simply means that in those districts where we don't have legal aid, Madam Speaker, they'll have to travel from one town to go and look for a lawyer who will be able to prepare an argument before court. Is that the way in which we allow people to have access to justice? Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, it means that most people will not be able to have access to justice. Let me give a very specific example. If I'm in Kitwe and I need attention to a matter before courts of law, Kitwe has got an office which is representing the legal aid. But the people of Mufulira, for instance, will have to travel from Mufulira to come to Kitwe to look for a lawyer. Now that lawyer, Madam Speaker, unfortunately, is already overwhelmed with so many cases before the courts. If we have a province such as Western Province, the entire Madam Speaker, lawyers, only have 5. Argument today, which I believe is a very simple argument. My argument is that government in the direction of decentralization. We are decentralizing services at local level. Why can't we have an office in to attend what is wrong to government? We want people to have the responsibility that we have to do. Believe that justice sometimes what our people simply is something believe that is to give people opportunity. Ably supported the people before this August House that 116 districts, Madam Speaker, they all require services can't afford, can be able to go and seek. Madam, Zambia will remain of a country that access is a priority. And I am confident, Madam Speaker, I can pick the energy in this gathering this afternoon that every constituency has got many people that need legal advice. What else can we do, Madam Speaker? Because we can't afford to give them money to go and hire a lawyer. What do we do as policymakers? What, Madam Speaker? We come to this people's house, the National Assembly, to argue for those many Zambians, Madam Speaker, who can't afford legal services. Our submission today is that apart from the 23, because currently we only have 23 offices, can we put it as a policy that the entire Zambia, 116 districts, Madam Speaker, we need to set up offices where those who can't afford to hire a lawyer can walk in, Madam Speaker, present their argument, and the lawyers will be able to say, this matter will take to court on your behalf, because you can't afford to hire a lawyer. That is the submission, Madam Speaker, of the people of Kamfinsa. And as I conclude, Madam Speaker, I want to put it on record. We can't have provinces as big as Western Province with only 3 lawyers. We can't have a province as big as province with only 4 lawyers. Madam Speaker, our people failing to access justice simply because
Seconda, which to speak now or later?
Speak.
The Honorable Member for Chirubi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Chirubi the opportunity to this controversial. I think it's a motion where we all belong. Madam Speaker, I would like to emphasize that Zambia operates with a maxim, a legal maxim that everybody is presumed, those who are found as suspects, they are presumed by the courts of law. Given that background, Madam Speaker, I would like to appreciate that further our Constitution in Article 18, for people to be represented. Out of the same, the statistics that the mover of the motion gave, that the act is not well balanced. We find that access to justice is mainly for the rich and not for the poor. And Zambia has got 116 districts and 156 constituencies. Madam Speaker, I don't want to bring to of our Constitution, which talks about national values, among other things, tackles human dignity, it tackles equality and discrimination, it tackles also equity. And further, Article 9 of our Constitution suggests in no uncertain terms that the implementation of national programs, there be legal frameworks as well as policy frameworks, the national value should be used as a compass. Having a population of closer to 20 million, meaning the majority of our people are poor, meaning access of these facilities is also affecting them. Madam Speaker, having underscored the need that we should have representation spread throughout, the government, which I belong to, too, has embarked on decentralization of services, different government bodies. When you look at legal aid, it is talking about legal education, legal counseling, legal representation, and main factors that are linked to legal awareness of citizens. Meaning that if citizens want to buy, there is need that they are well protected and they understand the contract they want to enter in. But Madam Speaker, I want to bring a bit of a sad picture, especially for us who belong to the rural areas. You find that when a or has been or Kashitu or anywhere where noise that is coming somewhere which is disturbing. We're having a situation.
Honorable members, Honorable Member from Porokoso, Mukushi South and Honorable Member for Chirubi is saying he's hearing what you are saying, you are distracting him from his debate. May please chat your voices so that we allow the Honorable Member for Chiruvi to debate without interruption.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for that intervention. Madam Speaker, what I was trying to underscore is that when we look at the issues of affecting especially the that we have full of people that did not have legal knowledge, which would have come all of them are serving sentences, presenting their case. They are serving sentences. I was just suspected deliberately, Madam Speaker, be taken to from being attended to because the courts are not. You find out court, maybe the case the man cannot be filled when legal services are brought closer to the people. That even members of parliament in reference, just a pedestrian reference, may belong at one point where they are deprived and they may not have the issue to pay for legal fees, but they may understand, meaning that anywhere we are trying to make sure that issues of equality too, issues of too, meaning the stone which I would love that everyone is going to balance up the act beyond reach, beyond tribe. This scenario to government, which I already indicated, what we are trying to call for is to have that person in the village, in Shangombo, elsewhere in Kapiri, and Madam Speaker, I want to say that Article 8 to have legal heads spread possible in the 116 districts, logistics may allow. And we are not saying that this is overnight, Madam Speaker. I know that it entails resources. We are calling for it to be progressive. The fact that there are already some effort that has been made, we also want that this may be a rollout program within the parameters of justice. I also want to understand
Thank you very much.
to help our people out there. The second, very much for ably seconded the motion. Madam Speaker, indeed this is something that
is it a legacy issue, concerns decentralization. One of the government wants to leave is the decentralization program. Madam Speaker, decentralization won't be achieved if justice is left behind. Today, we are saying that legal representation is getting expensive every day. Because most to court, because they don't have, they are easily taken in and they are jailed. Madam Speaker, to have an office established, resource, and I know that people can be who would refuse such a ban. Madam Speaker, at the lowest level, it will mean that we have taxpayers, and how do the people of Zambia benefit from this taxpayers' money? It is by way of having something given to them for free, and they can have this freedom free if they are. And Madam Speaker, would really outside. I know, Madam Speaker, that we need vehicles. We might need also office space. But Madam Speaker, our hands are not short to even talk to help us through aid in order to establish. Like the last words that the secretary, he said, we can do this progressively. Meaning that we are not demanding for it like it should come today or tomorrow, but let's continue building that were already. This is a motion that will send some language to the people that we really mean business when we are talking about central. Consider this matter very urgently and seriously. Madam Speaker, the people of Chitambo, with those few words, beg to retire.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Sesheke.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much for giving people the opportunity to add a voice on this very progressive moved by my brother. Are going to agree on matters of common law. Very important. Speaker, Article 18 of the Constitution guarantees every citizen to have equal right to legal representation. Arising, Madam Speaker, it's very important as the mover of the motion, the seconder, and a colleague, senior member, and brother from Chitambo, there is need for this administration to leave a very well-established legal representation as part of its leaders. Madam Speaker, it's in public domain that some of us, not citing myself as have had challenges in ensuring representation due to other issues that I may not delve into as of now. This, Madam Speaker, is important that the people out there, the citizenry, through the creation of legal aid in give adequate information with regards to what they ought to do, they do not come in conflict. So awareness and engagement through the legal aid offices. The creation of these offices, Madam Speaker, shouldn't just be looked at from an accused being represented in the courts of law. It also presents an opportunity, Madam Speaker, for people to be with the law. This, Madam Speaker, helps to deter the would-be offenders that may come in conflict with the law have been it also helps the efficiency and timely manner in which cases are being dealt with. Why is that the case? My brother earlier on alluded to, you can imagine the entire province, Western Province, has got only 3 legal aid officers. What does that do to someone who is in Imosho, someone who is in Mwandi, Shangombo, or even in Kaputa? It means they are deprived of the efficiency and timely manner in which cases should be handled. You have people that have been in prisons for a very long time, basically because they do not have the capacity and the resource to seek legal representation. I thought we were depriving other members to debate on this issue, that the people of Sesheke can add a little bit and urge my sister, the Minister of Justice, to take keen interest in this matter, because what we are creating today, what this Parliament is about to do today, is to ensure that even ourselves, when time comes, when we leave these privileged offices, we should also benefit from the creation of these offices. Madam Speaker, I want to thank my brother again for the matter. It's something that all of us ought to do when we are chosen to represent the many Zambian people out there. We are just 1% of members that are so privileged to preside over the resource, the governance, the legislation of this country. Madam Speaker, with these few words, I want to second the motion ably moved by my brother and colleague. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Nalolo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing the voice of Nalolo to contribute. I would like from the onset to thank the mover of the motion, Honorable Kangombe, and the seconder, Honorable Fube. Madam Speaker, this motion gives us an opportunity to give ourselves a reality check on how serious we've been as a country. I took interest in that for 54 years, the act that established the Legal Aid Board remains unreformed for 54 years and only got reformed in 2021. I'd like the opportunity to underscore the importance of legal representation. And in doing so, I would like to place it on record that this government, ushered in 2021, has demonstrated that they place a high premium on legal services. And let me say why. Madam Speaker, for 10 legal office board offices, and that is factual. So I agree with my colleague. The provincial capital have been added in the last 3 years. Now we had 10 offices for 54 years. So for me, I also want to use this motion to put it on record that the agenda of decentralization is practical this time around. Madam Speaker, the 2025 budget for Legal Aid Board is different. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 2025. For decentralization to be practical, resources must be allocated. I would like to unreservedly support this motion, taking into consideration that when scoring, we must clap. We must not always politicize things. So in some sense, Madam Speaker, the decentralization of Legal Aid Board offices is already happening. Additional 13 years. Madam Speaker, that we would want every the 16 districts legal aid board offices, because we know that it is a matter of constitutional provision of right. Madam Speaker, not political. I just wanted that there is no need of pretending that we are making a decision to decentralize. Decentralizing is happening, and it has already been demonstrated. And Madam Speaker, in further concluding my few remarks on this motion, I would like to thank my two honorable colleagues for bringing it to this House, because it also gives us an opportunity to be able to assess the end of the day on what we have scored. And for me, in terms of justice being accessible, public protector, it's not districts. It was remarks. No, to see a political connotation to things, but what as consensus is that legacy issues must be resolved with a lens of objectivity. Madam Speaker, I would like to place on record my support for this motion. I thank you very much.
From the honorable members that have debated, I have not heard anybody opposing. I don't know whether we are not pushing an open door. Should we continue? Okay, it's an open door. So I'll call on the Honorable Minister of Justice to respond.
there's no need for a hammer. Madam Speaker, may I appreciate this opportunity that you have given me and indeed my colleagues, so that we, as members of Parliament, as Honorable Kangombe Fosesheke reminded us, that we are only 1% of the people of Zambia. So we should forever be mindful that when we come here, we are carrying a lot of people as we represent them. Also just wanting to appreciate the mover of this private member's motion, as it's supposed to be, that when we are chosen as members of Parliament, we are indeed speakers or supporters of the public out there. So Honorable Kangombe and indeed the seconder, Honorable Fube, as always a colleague that I respect when it comes to debates because of his substance. When we look at the motion that was brought on the ground, is really, as already said and observed by even you, Madam Speaker, that this government is already working. And that is why for us, we didn't see a reason why we should oppose this motion or to say that we are already doing that. I also want to appreciate His Excellency, the President of this Republic of Zambia, the Great Republic. He has been on record saying that there shouldn't be any justice delayed, because justice delayed, as we all know it sounds like a cliche, that is justice denied. He has been on record to remind us that there has to be speed so that within 5 months, hopefully, cases can be disposed of. This is what your president has been on record on. So let me say thank you for this opportunity once again, and indeed to appreciate the members on the right and on the left for having come together to speak to an issue that your government, whether right or the left, it's still your government, under the able leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema, has already and is already doing some of this decentralization. Members, you have made my statement very easy because you have acknowledged that for the longest time, over 54 years, we had offices only in provinces. But because of the support that Ministry of Justice continue to give, as well as the decentralization policy at work, meaning walking the talk, now we have these offices in also 13 districts. But is that enough? Of course not. We have 116 districts. This year we'll be adding 2 more, but we look forward that together collectively we can be in all the 116 districts. I think one of the colleagues of mine, Honorable from Nalolo, also reminded us the budget that comes with these offices opening. So we have to be mindful of that. Let me just read a little bit in terms of what I had to present to this House. As of 2021, the Legal Aid Act number 1 of 2021 was enacted, and of course we have heard repealed in 2025, so the 2021 repealed the one of 2025, and a comprehensive legal aid system was introduced and setting out the following. Administrators of a comprehensive legal aid system in the Republic to ensure accessible, effective, and impartial and sustainable legal services, provide legal aid in civil and criminal matters, publish and disseminate information relating to legal aid, as well as coordinating the provision of legal aid by state and non-state legal aid providers. So we heard some of the concerns that you raised, honorable colleagues, that we don't have enough lawyers, we don't have enough workers, and hence some of these issues that I have articulated here. Regulate, oversees, and monitor the provision of legal aid based on a quality assurance framework and standards. That's another area that really has come into place. Undertaking research on all aspects of legal aid, facilitate the provision of legal aid to persons granted legal aid under the Act, ensuring guidelines on the application of the means test and the interest of justice, registration of of civil society organization and higher education institutes like the legal clinic that many of us know and have actually taken some of our people from our communities. Honorable members, I also just want to note here that I had a privilege just in the first months when I was appointed as Minister of Justice, because legal aid is one area that was close to my heart even prior coming to Parliament. I did a lot of advocacy work around that, around human rights. To my appreciation of the people who work in legal services, so we went to the Kent building. There we found, honorable members, people still working around 6 p.m., 18 hours. So they didn't know who I was, because many people didn't know. It had just happened. And so we were talking to them. And these two ladies who were actually being saved were so excited that when they were coming down the stairs, they were talking and appreciating how they had been saved. On the other side, there was another group of an older audience who were also being saved. I'm sure they went beyond 18 hours. When I told them that I was the new Minister of Justice, they could not hold their excitement in appreciation of legal services. It is here, those who were in the budget committee, that I really advocated for legal services budgets, legal aid board to be increased. And here are some of the budget lines that I want to speak to. And maybe before I get to that, in the interest of time, let me also talk to the issues of the cases that have been taken care of. In terms of executing of its mandate, during the year 2024, Legal Aid Board attended to approximately 17,622 cases, with the highest of these cases coming from Lusaka at 5,027 and the lowest from Serenge, about 292. Children cases, of course, had a significant low number, indicating fewer cases compared to adults. The need to decentralize, as we have already echoed, all of us in this room, it is really critical. We all know that once this has happened in all the 16 districts, it will address the geographical inequity in accessing justice. Justice is not a preserve for the haves and not for the have-nots. And this president, he is really committed to ensure that justice is for all Zambians. And also, it does indeed align with our national development goals, which a lot of you have already alluded to as supported in the 8th National Development Plan. We cannot talk about sustainability, about development or independence if justice to others is not given. How about the budget? There have been some increments under this government, and indeed appreciation goes to the President once more under my ministry. I'm trying to find where the budget line is so that we can appreciate. I seem not to... okay, here we go. The government's commitment to support the progressive decentralization of legal aid offices to all districts has been shown gradually through the increment of the funds to the Legal Aid Board, as I already alluded to. But here are the figures so that we do understand how committed we are as a government. In 2021, there was 19 million allocated to Legal Aid Board, and in 2022, you can imagine the increase to about 47 million. And in 2023, about 65 million was the money that was allocated. And under the 2025 approved budget, you can see the steady increase of 75 million kwacha. Honorable members, I cannot overemphasize the importance of legal aid services in our country, because we want to see every person, especially the voiceless, the women in particular, even our young people, the marginalized, do understand that Zambia is for all Zambians, and by being a Zambian, and those who may find themselves in Zambia have access to legal aid, regardless of their political status, regardless of their status in this country, as long as they're Zambians, they deserve
legal services. I submit in supporting the motion.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, allow me once again to thank your office for the opportunity to present the People's Motion, the motion on access to justice. May I place on record my gratitude to Honorable Fube, the seconder of this motion. May I also pay tribute to Honorable Remember Chandamtale, the people of Chitambo, for supporting the motion, Honorable Member of Parliament for Sesheke, Honorable Member of Parliament for Nalolo, and of course the Honorable Minister responsible for justice. Madam Speaker, the issue that we've debated, I think, requires implementation, and we look forward to government progressively providing the required budgetary allocation for these offices to be established. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order. Time to make a decision. I put the question. The question is that in order to enhance equitable access to legal representation, this House urges the government to establish legal aid offices in all districts countrywide. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Next motion, the Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the people of Kamfinsa once again have the great honor and privilege to move a motion urging government to formulate guidelines for the issuance and management of municipal bonds. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Is the motion seconded?
The motion is seconded, Madam Speaker.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Mandevu. The question is that this House urges the government to formulate guidelines on the issuance and management of municipal bonds. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, once again, I want to thank your office for receiving the motion and allowing that this discussion is brought to Parliament so that we can urge the ministry responsible and the other ministries that are in charge of issues to do with public finance to undertake the process of issuing guidelines, Madam Speaker, on how local authorities in Zambia can not only issue municipal bonds, but can also manage municipal bonds. Madam Speaker, this motion is grounded in 3 pieces of legislation, Madam Speaker, and I'll start with what the Constitution of Zambia states. Madam Speaker, the Constitution of Zambia, which was amended in 2016, under exclusive functions of local authorities, under page 117, Madam Speaker, spells out 24 functions. In other words, Madam Speaker, if anyone wants to know what are the exclusive functions of councils in Zambia, you go to page 117. It provides, Madam Speaker, functions which councils in Zambia are expected to perform. So from a constitutional point of view, Madam Speaker, issues to do with toll gates, issues to do with road rehabilitation, issues to do with vehicle licensing, issues to do with public housing, Madam Speaker, these are functions of councils in Zambia. So from a constitutional point of view, Madam Speaker, the functions are clear. Let me quickly take you, Madam Speaker, and the August House to the provisions that are in the Public Finance Management Act. Madam Speaker, you are aware that in Zambia, whether you are collecting money through taxes, whether you are collecting money through levies, whether you are collecting money through any form of finance, those are public funds, Madam Speaker, whose expenditure is guided by the Public Finance Management Act. So from a Public Finance Management Act point of view, Madam Speaker, local authorities are agents of central government. And because they are agents of central government, Madam Speaker, regulations must be put in place on how local authorities utilize public funds. I'll quickly take you to the third piece of legislation, Madam Speaker, which is the Local Government Act. This Parliament, Madam Speaker, in 2019, amended the 1996 Local Government Act, and when it amended that law, Madam Speaker, Section 48 was included. Now, what does Section 48 talk about? Madam Speaker, Section 48 of the Local Government Act talks about public institutions called local authorities having the opportunity to issue what are called municipal bonds. So if you go to Section 48, the laws of Zambia, Madam Speaker, allow local authorities to issue municipal bonds. So today, Madam Speaker, I want to be very clear. We are not asking the Ministry of Local Government or the Ministry of Finance to amend any law. We are not asking for an amendment to any law, Madam Speaker. The laws of Zambia allow local authorities currently to issue municipal bonds. But there's one problem, Madam Speaker. The first problem that is there is that currently we do not have guidelines that will tell a local authority that if you want to issue a municipal bond, the first thing you need to do is to get permission from the Minister of Local Government. That is the first thing that you need to do. Secondly, you need to implement this municipal bond through a special purpose vehicle. Those guidelines, Madam Speaker, are not there. Thirdly, there are no guidelines, Madam Speaker, telling the local authorities the cost of borrowing if they want to borrow money to be implemented through a municipal bond. So, Madam Speaker, from where I stand today, I'm not asking for a new law to be enacted. The proposal from the people of Kamfinsa is that we've got 116 local authorities in Zambia. And if it is possible that the law allows them to issue municipal bonds, why then can't we provide them with guidelines? Because, Madam Speaker, if the law says you can do A, B, C, D, then there must be guidelines to allow local authorities to issue the municipal bonds. And that is exactly what the people of Kamfinsa today are submitting. Submission is that, can we now have guidelines provided on the step-by-step processes, Madam Speaker, that local authorities will be able to utilize to issue municipal bonds. And I believe that from the perspective of public finance, I think that we need to reach a stage where, Madam Speaker, we are forward-looking. How should we be forward-looking? We should look at local authorities as agents that can raise resources for public infrastructure. We should not look at local authorities in their current state today. We should tell ourselves, what do we envision a local authority to perform? We envision a local authority in Zambia, regardless of the district, to perform function A, function B, function C. For them to perform these functions, what do we need to do? Number one, the law says issue municipal bonds. Now, for them to issue municipal bonds, what is required? We need the following guidelines. That is the submission, Madam Speaker, from the people of Kamfinsa. And I hope that those that will contribute to this debate will look at it from the perspective of how do we give guidelines to local authorities. Madam Speaker, the people of Kamfinsa once again propose that the ministry responsible issues guidelines on the issuance and management of municipal bonds. I thank you once again, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. As the time is 16:40 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes for a health break.
Member of Parliament, Mr. Christopher Kangombe, moving his second motion titled Formulate Guidelines on the Issuance and Management of Municipal Bonds, that this House urges the government to formulate guidelines on the issuance and management of municipal bonds. And this motion is being seconded by Mandela Member of Parliament, Mr. Shakafusa. Just to mention that Mr. Kangombe actually did move another motion, which is the first one, and it was titled Establish Legal Aid Officers in all districts countrywide, and this one was seconded by Chulu Member of Parliament, Mr. Mulenga Fube, and this motion has been duly adopted. Matimba.
And when business resumed at 14:30 hours, Madam Speaker did make some announcements. Madam Speaker recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Rhodes Park School in Lusaka District, pupils and teachers from Sunshine Academy in Lusaka District, and also visitors from Luansha Parliamentary Constituency in Luansha District. And so, Madam Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, warmly welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly.
Of course, the House did consider 3 questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 80. Initially, it was supposed to consider 4 questions. So, question 207, which was supposed to come from Mr. Katambo of Masaiti, lapsed. Just now, we take a break. Stay tuned.